Jill, have you been following that close enough?
No, because I haven't been able to read the last three issues.
Okay. You and the app need to learn to get along.
I submitted a thing to. I emailed Marvel support. They offered suggestions that I'd already tried, and then said we'll submit it to our team as a bug or whatever, which means we can't help you.
No, that doesn't, man. That means they're going to be in contact with you. They should be in contact with you.
Well, you know, I don't know, whatever.
All right.
So no, to answer your question, I have no idea what's going on in Agents of Shield.
Okay.
Not a friggin' clue.
All right.
Um, I'm hoping they're going and seeing Guardians at like midnight.
You are?
Might depends on how I feel after I get done with this.
Okay.
If I feel like braving those crowds,
That'll be fun, man.
yeah, maybe if I could even get tickets,
Yeah.
or I may just go tomorrow afternoon. I don't know. It's a lot of comic books to talk about.
Yes, it is.
It's 12. It's 12 for each of us, just about.
Yeah.
Notes. Okay. Did you get everything read?
I didn't read the Star Wars books. Um, didn't read the Punisher annual.
Okay. The Punisher annual is good.
I didn't read. Maybe I read both the Doctor Strange books. I think I got everything else.
One of them showing promise. The other one I don't even
I
know
read the
why.
Sorcerer Supremes.
Yeah, that's the one worth reading.
I didn't read the other one.
You don't even need to read it. We'll talk about
Okay. All right.
it. Who are we this week?
I think we're going to be Han Solo and Chewbacca.
Okay. Dude, this healthcare thing's a disaster.
Oh, my man.
I mean, they pushed this thing through in opposition to their constituents.
I understand.
Dude, it's ridiculous.
I understand.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. You got the intro ready to go?
I'm ready.
All right, cool. um, give me just a second.
Sure.
All right, I'm back.
Okay.
I didn't really have to pee. I just knew that somewhere around, Awesome Hulk, I was going to have to pee then, and
Yeah.
Red Sox are winning. That's good. All right. Ready?
Yep.
All right. It's May 1st.
Yes.
All right. 3, 2, 1. That's not the intro to the show.
No.
Okay.
What is up? This is the 6 Month Behind podcast for the week of 5/1/17 that we're recording on May the 4th, 2017. So, May the 4th be with you. How
May
you
the
doing, man?
4th be with you. I'm doing good, dude. How are you?
I'm good. We are the Han Solo and Chewbacca of the Marvel Unlimited world, just here to talk about everything in Marvel Unlimited. And this week we've got like 24 comics, so it's going to be a long and bumpy ride on the Millennium Falcon as we carry you through the Marvel comic world, which is quite an adventure these days.
Yes, it certainly is. And I don't think we're going to finish this run in 12 parsecs like Han Solo did.
No, we are not. We are not, because it's we warn you that we talk about spoilers, and we're going to talk about spoilers because as you get further and further into Captain America, it is so intertwined with Secret Empire, which is coming out currently on newsstands, that you just can't separate what's happening in Marvel Unlimited from what's happening in newsstands, from what's in the media. And unless you've just got your head in the sand or you're living on a desert island, there's no way you can separate what we're reading from Marvel Unlimited to what's on the newsstands and not discuss the two. So if you don't want to know about spoilers or Secret Empire, we're going to do our best not to tell you about it. I'm not going to tell you who was on Captain America's Secret Empire Avenger team yesterday when Secret Empire #1 came out, but the rest of it, good luck to you.
Yeah. As I have recently found out, it's difficult to avoid spoilers these days.
Dude, it's hard, man.
I mean, I was just looking at like a wiki the other day and found out how Civil War ends, and I was like, oh, oops, I didn't mean to read that.
Yeah. It's hard. Yeah.
But if you want to tell us why Secret Empire is so great, you can email us at 6monthsbehind@gmail.com. That's the number 6monthsbehind@gmail.com. Also, please visit our website.
www.6monthsbehind.com. You always say that the email, and I always want to put at.
Yeah.
www.6monthsbehind.com.
It's okay. I mean, we're professionals. It'll be fun.
Yeah. You always say at, and I always want to say at, and it always confuses me every time.
Right. You can also hit us up on Twitter at 6 months behind, the number 6 months behind, just to plug that.
Yep.
Yeah, we got a ton of books, dude. So why don't we just jump straight into our Civil War titles this week?
Yes. And all three of these, well, the first two really are tied together, which is Civil War #6 and Captain America Steve Rogers #6. So in Civil War #6, now we discussed this a few months ago, that Civil War is a book in 3 acts.
Yeah.
And this is the end of Act 2.
Yes.
Which at the end of the last act, or at the end of the last issue, issue 5, Ulysses had another vision. And in that vision, we saw Miles Morales, Spider-Man, killing Captain America. And
on the steps of the Capitol.
On the steps of the Capitol. And you're really going to get into this in Captain America #6, I hope.
Mm-hmm.
So Captain Marvel calls for a ceasefire because And I
Of what
almost
they
want to
all
talk about
just
these
saw.
books. Yeah, because of what they all just saw. And I almost want to talk about these books simultaneously, but we won't.
Well,
So,
let's do that then, if that's easier, because we can.
yeah, so hold on just a minute. Let me kind of get through this scene. So
Yeah.
she calls a ceasefire because of what they saw, which is Spider-Man having killed Captain America. And she and Tony begin arguing again about what happened and whether or not it's going to happen. And then Captain America just kind of walks over to Spider-Man and says, "Look, just kind of calm down. Why do you got your mask down? You don't need to have it down, and just kind of relax." And at that point, he walks over to Carol and says, "He's going home." And she says, "No, he's not. I'm gonna take him and take care of him." And Tony says, "That means you're gonna arrest him." And at that point, it's kind of a standoff. So
Right,
I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, Captain America tells Captain Marvel, he can go home if he wants to. He didn't do anything wrong, just like Bruce didn't do anything wrong, just like Rhodey didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
It's at that point that Tony tells Thor to take him home, and Cap restrains Captain Marvel to prevent her from trying to catch Thor from taking Spider-Man.
Miss Marvel restrains Captain Marvel.
Well, it's Captain America first. I was getting to that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But
My
before
apologies.
she can take off after them, Miss Marvel like binds her up using her stretchy powers or whatever.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really interesting. Just because the relationship between Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel is what it is. Then Maria Hill busts in, says, "You're all under arrest," to which Tony Stark says, the really interesting bit is when Black Panther gets here.
Okay, I thought you were going to talk about this from Captain America's point of view.
I thought we were recapping the book.
Oh, okay. All right, go ahead.
But from Captain America's point of view, he's a Hydra agent. So,
all right, go ahead. All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, in getting to the Black Panther thing, he says that he basically betrays Carol. He says, "Hey, I'm switching sides. I'm done. I've learned my lesson. Long ago, I learned that if you are on Captain America's side, you can rest easy knowing you're on the right side." And this is your reminder that Captain America is a Hydra agent. So he leaves. The Triskelion blows up. Tony and Captain America teleport away with Doctor Strange. The Inhumans leave.
Well, all right, hang on. Because what happens here is we discussed this again a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And suddenly they don't just leave. They abandon Carol because she's looking around for people to help her, and suddenly she's abandoned by the Black Panther.
They just leave her by herself. Everybody's picked a different side.
Because what she specifically asked is for Lockjaw to help her go after Tony and his crew, and Medusa's like, "Nah, peace out."
Yeah,
and leaves her.
Yep, just leaves her there.
Yeah. And Thor helps Spider-Man just get away because he wants to be alone.
Yeah, he just wants to be alone for a minute because everybody experiences those visions from Ulysses. So Miles Morales experienced murdering Captain America.
Right.
Now, the way this plays in is interesting because Captain America being a Hydra agent, is it necessarily a bad thing that Spider-Man kills Captain America? Because they're all under the impression that it's like, oh, it's Captain America. But you and I know that he's a Hydra agent and he's evil. So what Black Panther said was being on his side, you always know you're on the right side. And Captain America is not currently on the right side.
Well, that's where this gets confusing.
Yeah, that's the kind of the crux of it is this whole thing. And meanwhile, weird stuff's going on with Ulysses.
Yeah, He's getting ready to have another vision.
Yeah, weird stuff's happening. The Triskelion blows up.
Yeah,
The Guardians of the Galaxy ship blows up on the Triskelion and pretty much brings the place down.
Yeah. Yeah, then Tony and who's that Tony's talking to? I forget. I'm looking.
It's Black Panther.
Yeah, he and Black Panther are talking. And then you have the champions.
Yeah. Meanwhile,
talking in the corner.
Yeah, Doctor Strange and Tony Stark are still facial hair bros.
Yeah, and the champions are talking in the corner, and this is where you see, and this is where the timing gets off, because this should have come out before Champions #1.
Yes,
because you see Miss Marvel, Nova, Cyclops, Nova, and I said Nova twice, and Riri Williams, all standing over in a corner saying, "Hey, we're going to blow this joint. You know, we're just leaving because we're over this." And you know, after a couple of minutes, and I think that's Kate Bishop with them too. Isn't it?
Yeah,
it is.
By the way, this is your formal introduction to Riri Williams. If you haven't been reading Iron Man, this is the first time you see her.
Yeah, and after a few minutes of discussing, they're just like, "Peace out." You know, we're over this. We're over the adults. We're over everything, and this sets up
champions.
Well, it doesn't just set up champions. It sets up I forget what it's called, but what's basically coming is the younger generation of the Marvel heroes doesn't agree with how the older generation is doing things.
Right. And so they're going to do their own thing. They're going to be the Young Avengers.
Yeah, it's not just I forget it. Marvel's actually got a storyline and a few issues they're going to do about it.
Generations?
I think so.
Is that what it's Generations? Yeah.
Yeah.
Where they're going to highlight the old generation and the new generation.
Yeah. So anyway, they continue with the plan of what they're going to do, and finally, they determined that their plan is just to Tony and Captain America and the Black Panther decided their plan is just to take Spider-Man and go to the Capitol steps and decide, you know,
what's going to happen.
Yeah, this just show everyone this isn't going to happen there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and at that point, you flash back to the Triskelion, where Storm and I forget who all that is. Young Jean Grey and Maria Hill and Peter Quill are consoling Carol Danvers and tell her she's doing a good job, and it's just about dawn, and they have found Miles Morales on the steps of the Capitol.
Yeah, Miles Morales is currently at the steps of the Capitol.
Yeah.
Looking all intimidating, and I don't know. I guess he got the same idea that Tony and Cap did, and they're going to go. I don't know what's going to happen, but presumably the big superhero fight.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So then you have Captain America #6, where we open in 1928 with young Steve. He's basically been deemed an utter failure by his instructors at the Hydra Academy. Then back in Pleasant Day, we see Ulysses have his vision of Spider-Man killing him, just like we saw in Civil War #6 just now. We see Carol and Tony argue about taking Spider-Man in, which we saw in Civil War #6 just now. Cap talks to Spider-Man and lets him go, just like we saw in Civil War #6 just a minute ago. We have Tony align heroes going back to hiding in one of Nick Fury's bunkers, like we just saw in Civil War #6. Half of this book is Civil War #6. Did that not irk you at all?
No, not really, because it has a couple of different perspectives on it.
I mean, those are almost shot for shot the same art.
Yeah, but it's got some different perspectives on it. So no, it doesn't really bother me as much.
Okay. It irritated the crap out of me.
It's got this thing where he's playing Tony for 3 pages. So he makes Tony act irrationally.
Right. I mean, what he does is he puts doubts in Tony's head. He even goes so far as to accuse him of drinking. and he's got Tony off balance. He accuses Tony of doing the right thing for the wrong reason.
And he
Because
intentionally go ahead.
he thinks Tony wants to be the one in charge. That somehow, if this had been Tony Stark's idea, we'd all be doing it, and he'd be the one behind it. And what Tony's really upset about is that he's not the one. He's not the smartest guy in the room who thought to do this first.
And what that, when you see issues 7 and 8, you realize how irrational Tony acts, and
yeah, he was already teetering on the edge.
The consequences of it. Tony's been unstable for weeks, and what Steve did here is kick him over the edge. What this is Steve, the Hydra agent, shoving Tony way over the edge,
right,
and just kicking him along. This is Steve moving.
This is him moving
around a chessboard.
These pieces on the. Yes, right, exactly.
and so yeah, I don't mind that you use things to set it up here, and then you go further. So you get some more background there.
And I guess if you're just reading Captain America, but you're not reading the Civil War event, that at least catches you up on, hey, here's what happened in Civil War.
And then he's talking to Dr. Slovig.
Yeah.
And
now I didn't understand what his whole Hydra plan has to do with Spider-Man killing him. It went off the rails for me there because I don't
what
really.
He says is his attention to detail allowed him to see what everyone else didn't see, which is yes, Spider-Man kills him. Yes, he's dead on the steps, but it's not that day. There's something in the background that I'm missing, and I don't know what it is.
Okay, maybe that's what it was then, because I don't see it either.
There's something in that picture. Maybe it's a Hydra flag.
It's not a Hydra flag. I'm looking at it.
I understand. I am too. There's something missing there that Steve Rogers caught that we all didn't, and I don't know what it is. But there's something there that he realizes he's going to die for Hydra on that day, and not for Spider-Man, not for S.H.I.E.L.D., not for America, but he caught it and nobody else did.
Okay.
And I don't know what it is, but
okay, now it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, that's what he's telling Dr. Selvig.
Okay.
So that's why he knows that he doesn't mind going to the Capitol that night, that day, because he knows Miles Morales isn't going to kill him that day. He's going to kill him at some point in the future.
Okay, then, because my whole thought was, yeah, he'll eventually kill me on the Capitol steps, and it'll all be for the glory of Hydra. And I'm like, what? But if you're saying he saw something, saw the world, okay, all right. Now that I read it a second time, it makes a little more sense.
Right. I don't know what he saw, and I actually would like to go back and look at the frame at some point and understand what he saw. But apparently he saw something that makes him understand that's not going to happen right now.
Right. This is far in the future.
Right. It's far in the future. And I don't know what, but at some point it's not now. It's way, way in the future.
Okay. So are you still on the same side that you were going into Civil War here?
Which one?
What?
Which side?
I don't know. Which side were you on? Because I'm on Tony's side here.
I have been on. See, I know how this ends, which influences my opinion.
Oh, okay. Well,
I am basically on Carol's side. I just think she's going about it wrong.
Okay. All right.
But is there a way to go about it right? That's the problem.
Yeah, that's the conundrum. And then,
yes.
We don't even know what's going on with Ulysses. You get, it's literally 3 panels of Ulysses standing on a balcony, and he's got glowy stuff all around him, and Karnak's approaching him like, hey, What's going on with you?
I mean, what's happening to Ulysses, if you look at Ulysses in issues 1 through 6 and some of the other books, Ulysses' powers, as he's getting more information, his powers are growing exponentially.
Right. He's amplifying everything.
Yes. No, they're growing. It's not amplifying. It's growing exponentially. The more information he takes in, the more his powers expound. They're not. They're multiplying. They're literally just.
The more information that he gets, the more powerful he becomes.
Yes. And the more powerful he becomes, the more information he takes in. And the more information he takes in, the more powerful he becomes. And the more powerful he becomes, the more information he takes in, not just from the earth, but from the universe.
Right.
So contemplate that for a moment.
Yeah.
And think about where that ends up.
Yeah. No, I know what happens.
So,
I know what happens to Ulysses at the end of this. So.
Right. So, that's what he's struggling with.
Yeah. And, 6 weeks ago, he was just a nervous 19-year-old on a campus and on a college campus,
right?
Trying to ask a girl out. And he just, yeah.
Yeah. So, 6 weeks ago, he was trying to figure it all out. And now he's, whatever he is.
Right. Speaking of universal conundrums, the Ultimates number 12 was really good.
It was. And this is, what do you think of Galactus the Lifebringer?
I think it's pretty cool.
Sometimes they do things like making Captain America a villain and it doesn't work. And they've taken Galactus and made him from a destroyer into a Lifebringer. And this isn't going anywhere anytime soon. I mean, this is here for at least a couple more years. And this is pretty cool, and I'm kind of enjoying it. Are you?
Yeah, absolutely. Particularly this art in this book. The first 3 pages are that, and again, it's a use of color thing. But you've got that whole splash page of it's all the key players in this game, superimposed on a background of Eternity and Chains.
Yeah. And what they're effectively doing is they've made Galactus one of the Ultimates.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, he's from issue 1, he's like been one of the Ultimates and isn't going anywhere.
No.
And if you looked at in the website, Ultimates 2 number 1, I hate it when they do that. Ultimates 2 number 1 is coming out in 3 or 4 weeks, and you can read the description for it. Well, let's talk about this first. So Connor Sims is losing his mind from what Thanos did to him last issue, and he's just racing through the universe,
the layers of the universe. Yeah,
slowly going insane. And Galactus just reaches out and grabs him. And you're right, this is beautiful art. And we flash back to Carol in a scene I really don't understand because
the art's so bad.
No, well, kind of.
They have multiple artists on this book, and the stuff with Galactus and the universe is gorgeous. This office boardroom stuff with Carol and Peter Gyrick is laughably bad.
Well, because in Carol's book, she met with the president, and she's a hero, and she can get anything she wants.
I haven't read that.
In this book, well, in Captain Marvel, she did. Mm-hmm. And in this book, she's in hot water. They're disbanding the Ultimates, and she's getting fired.
I think this is that in that most recent Captain Marvel book where that happens. I think that's before her and the big clash at the Triskelion.
No. It's after.
Is it not? Okay.
No, it's after Civil War.
Oh, well, then
she's a hero for saving everything.
Okay.
I do not understand. I don't. She's meeting with President Obama, and she's a hero. So anyway, So she and Gyrick are talking. It's Wakanda has
thrown its weight around politically.
And the Black Panther has thrown his weight around politically and essentially disbanded the Ultimates. She runs into T'Challa, and they have a very cold shoulder. She accuses him of being the man who murdered the Ultimates. She and I think it's Blue Marvel.
Yeah,
Blue Marvel and Monica Rambeau fly back to the
Spectrum.
Triskelion, and you know, of course, it's in shambles. And then she goes and finds
America Chavez.
America Chavez, Miss America. I wanted to call her Captain America, Miss America. And they have a discussion about their argument over how she handled the breakup of the Ultimates, and
How she handled Ulysses specifically.
yeah. So Miss Chavez takes her to a world, and you and I discussed her powers the other day and whether or not they've been amped up.
Yeah, I feel like they've really ratcheted up America Chavez's powers here.
So she takes her to a world where Ulysses was brought under the control of Doctor Doom, and Doctor Doom has used Ulysses' power to take over the world and root out all crime and everything. And they're immediately confronted by a bunch of Doom bots, or
Yeah.
I guess Doom Sentinels.
Yeah, they're
whichever they
Doom
are.
Sentinels is what they are.
And I guess she and Carol begin to spend a few hours just taking over the world and destroying all the Sentinels.
Well, this is what America Chavez does: is she pops into her abilities allow her to move through the multiverse. So she just pops in and out of multiverses, doing what she can where she can. So she'll pop in here, take out enough Doom bots that the Resistance movement can make a move, and she'll be back later. She's got to go help somebody else. It's this kind of like Doctor Who thing. And this is where I say they've really amped up her powers, because you really didn't see her doing stuff like this beforehand.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. But
so at the end, they kind of declare a peace treaty, and they kiss and make up.
Yeah,
no pun intended. Then we go back to the office of Philip Volk, who's kind of been this man behind the scenes,
the man in the shadows.
Yeah, who's put together his own team of Ultimates with a bunch of people I've never heard from before.
Yeah, I have no idea who any of these people are.
None of these people are, who are apparently military people with powers, and he's got his own, set of Ultimates now.
Yeah, he's calling them the Troubleshooters.
Yeah. Then
which
we go
is a great team name. Great.
Yeah. Then we go back to Galactus and back to the Great Art, where he takes Connor Sims and makes him his new herald and tells him to bring him the Ultimates.
Yep.
And again, this is a couple pages of great art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He basically takes Connor Sims as Anti-Man and all the power that contains, and just infuses him with his Life-Bringer energy, and then sends him out as his herald.
Well, it gives him the power cosmic, which allows him to cope with the power he already has.
Right. Yeah, and of course, this is the end of the Ultimates, and Ultimates 2 goes on sale in a couple weeks.
Right.
Or we'll get it in a couple weeks. This book was great, and I love this cosmic thing going on. This cosmic, whatever the struggle is with the cosmic order being out of balance, and Thanos has some sort of, he sees this and wants to do something about it. Personally, I think there's a power vacuum somewhere. There's a the cosmic deities being out of balance leaves room for someone else to step in, and Thanos sees that empty throne and wants it. That way he can bring death to the universe, or whatever it is Thanos wants.
I don't avoid spoilers. I just don't actively seek them out. And I kind of read a teaser for Ultimates 2, 6 or 7 or 8 the other day, and kind of figured out where this was going, and it's pretty interesting. Yeah.
Okay, then. Moving on to Spider-Man books this week, we have Prowler #1, which this is a Clone Conspiracy tie-in. So as we saw in previous issues of Spider-Man, Prowler died at the hands of the new Electro and was raised from the dead by Jackal and the new You. Now he works for them. Prowler, we start the issue out with Prowler thwarting a bank robbery. Then back at the new U headquarters, he breaks up a fight between two villains who, I guess it's the Jackal's aim to resurrect a bunch of old Spider-Man villains and have them all working for him as like a super powered crime boss or something. I've yet to figure out what the Jackal's aim is, what his end game is here.
I don't know.
Subject the world to his will by offering them immortality. I don't know.
I don't know.
So Jackal calls Prowler into his office to admonish him for thwarting a bank robbery and not keeping the villains in line, which is actually what he was just doing. There's this thing, and you have to read the dialogue between the two of them, but essentially the Jackal said, yeah, I got you to keep these knuckleheads in line because, the new recruits need a drill sergeant. Which to me, I'm going, well, he just stopped a fight. So what'd you think he was doing? But okay.
He took too long to get there, was his point.
All right. So Jackal tells Prowler to assist Madam Web with something. She's alive again. And I don't know why because she was never specifically a Spider-Man villain. She always had her own ends. Which, depending on what she wanted, may have been whether she's a villain or a good guy. But she's around again working for the Jackal, which, she's a powerhouse in his pocket for sure. Yeah. And whatever it is she asked Prowler to do, he breaks into some building and it looks like he gets captured by Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So first issue, okay.
It was all right. It was decent art too.
Yeah, the art's not bad. I just don't know why we need a Prowler book.
Is this a limited series or is this an ongoing series?
I hope it's limited. I hope it's limited to 3 issues. It's not bad for real, but I don't want to read a book about the Prowler. Or like why we need a book about the Prowler.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
At some point, I wonder.
I'm just not interested in the Prowler, man.
If they're not trying to figure out how big they can make the Spider-Man and Deadpool universes, like how for a while they were trying to see how big they could make the X-verse.
Mm-hmm.
How many titles can we get? Can Cyclops, Iceman, can all these characters support their own title? Now I feel like they're trying to do it with Deadpool and Spider-Man sometimes.
Yeah. I agree with you.
I know.
They're definitely doing it with Deadpool.
Yeah. Speaking of Spider-Man, we have Spider-Man Deadpool number 10 this week, which is actually a pretty entertaining book. The art's very good in it. Spider-Man and Deadpool are on the run from Itsy Bitsy, who is that villain's name after last issue. And they're in one. No, Itsy Bitsy.
No, Itsy Bitsy. Okay.
It's that new spider creature.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Who is a clone of both Spider-Man and Deadpool's DNA.
Yeah. I was thinking Back in Black for a minute.
Okay. So anyway, they're in one of Deadpool's safe houses. And first a resurrected villain shows up, which I don't know if it's a Clone Titan or not. I really don't. I don't know if Itsy Bitsy's a Clone Titan or not. But anyway, so the villain shows up and wants to talk to the reasonable one. So to distract Deadpool, he blows Deadpool's groin off, which obviously distracts Deadpool for a few minutes.
One would suspect.
And obviously you get a long string of jokes from Deadpool. And about the time he's about to strike a deal with Spider-Man, Itsy Bitsy shows up and kills the villain, who I believe is Silvermane. We never find out who the villain was. I think it was Silvermane, a resurrected Silvermane, but that's just me.
Oh.
So then we of course, it breaks out into a fight. And the funny thing is, because of course she's a clone of a half Deadpool, half Spider-Man. She makes all the jokes that Deadpool would. So at some point, Deadpool looks at Spider-Man and says, "Is this what it's like fighting me with all the bad jokes as you're fighting him?" And Parker looks at him and says, "Yeah, it really is." Deadpool's like, "Dude, I'm sorry. I had no idea."
Which is really funny because Spider-Man likes to throw jokes, corny jokes around during fights all the time too. So you think they would have a camaraderie with one another about it.
And it's not a bad book. It's got some humor in it. At the end, Itsy Bitsy gets away, and I thought they were going to make this like a 3 or 4 part arc, and then wrap it up. Instead, I think this is going to be an arc that goes on for 10, 12, 16 issues, and they just kind of come back to it every now and then.
Okay.
Because this was like 2 issues, and I believe they're going to something else next issue, and she's just going to kind of keep coming back every now and then. So it was entertaining. The art was good. The jokes were good. It was good. It was.
Cool. It's one that I've enjoyed along with Deadpool Back in Black. I just didn't have time to read it this week.
Yeah, we had 3 days to read, 24 books. So work with us here.
Yeah, exactly. Moving on to our solo X-Men book this week, Extraordinary X-Men 15. So Storm and Illyana Rasputin, now knowing what Sapna has become and that she's been taken over by the World Eater, they attempt to convince those guys to help them, the ones that were from the other universe that were attacking them just a few issues ago. The goat dude and the other guys, you remember those guys.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Glob and the other X-Men are able to subdue Colossus and get him into a holding cell alongside Apocalypse. And Apocalypse is doing his, I'll give you all the power in the world if you just let me out of this cell sort of thing. It's really creepy here. If you look at this art, like old decrepit Apocalypse is unnerving.
It really is. Hey, I don't think he's old and decrepit. I think he's powered down and weakened.
That may be
which
it.
leaves him like skinny and weak instead of big and powerful.
Right. Either way, he's creepy looking.
Yeah.
We get a more detailed explanation of who the World Eater is exactly after Ilana and Storm are able to convince those guys not to kill him. Basically, big tentacled universe devouring elder god thing. But it has to have a host, a very powerful host, and Sapna is that host. Back at the X Mansion, Glob is awkwardly trying to ask Jean Grey out on a date when she suddenly faints and Sapna the World Eater attacks the X Mansion with a bunch of demons. So
yeah, and everybody is now back at the X Mansion in Limbo, and they're fixing to have a giant throwdown next issue.
Yep.
Yeah.
This has been pretty much the only X-Men book that I've really enjoyed.
Yeah.
It's the only one that's halfway decent, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You're enjoying that Uncanny X-Men, but I don't.
I am, yes.
I don't love it.
Yeah. I am. And I'm enjoying this, and I thought this was a good issue.
Yeah, it wasn't half bad.
Yeah. It was yeah, it wasn't bad.
I'm interested in the villain. The World Eater thing is interesting to me. That has potential to be a really cool villain. Otherwise, I can just leave the rest of it. The stuff with Glob and Jean Grey is really funny.
Yeah. Tell you what was a very good issue was moving to our Avengers section was all new, all different Avengers number 15. Because this thing starts with an Alex Ross cover of Jane Foster Thor and then moves into interior art by Adam Kubert.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, this art, who did the color on this?
Paul
The
Mounts.
Paul Mounts. There it is. The color and the art is just magnificent in this thing, man. Because it most of the story, what happens is Thor is trying to decide which side of the Civil War she wants to be on. So to know what side she wants to be on, Heimdall, she goes to the Rainbow Bridge and she talks to Heimdall, who can tell the future. And Heimdall explains to her she ain't the first Thor that's come up there and wants to know the future. Because Odin's son has been there before and wanted to know the future. And he learned the future and it didn't work out for him.
When did this story take place, by the way? Is this a new story or is this a retelling of another story?
Which one? The one with Jane Foster?
No, the one where Odin's son is. They're talking about thwarting Doom.
Well, I tell you what. Let's just take it from the beginning.
Yeah.
So Jane Foster wants to know which side of the Secret War to be on. So she flies to the Rainbow Bridge and talks to Heimdall, which is just beautiful. I mean, just the Kubert's art, the color is just magnificent. And she asked him, you know the future, you know how this is going to turn out, you know what's going to happen. Tell me what I should do here. And his response is, you're not the first Thor to have asked this question, because Odin's son had before. And he tells her about the time that Odin's son came up there and wanted to know what he should do about an incident that had happened before. And apparently it's right after the Avengers were formed, because as you read the story, they didn't know each other very well. They didn't even know that Thor was really an Asgardian god.
Right. This is
when they get to the bridge.
Early Avengers.
This had to be around Avengers 5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
And Heimdall tells him, what Heimdall tells him is, you'll beat Dr. Doom, but it won't turn out the way you want it to. So Heimdall answers him, but doesn't give him the reason or tells him, look, don't do this. So again, great art, man. The coloring is different. Great art. So they beat Doom, and what happens is Doom was trying to take over a neighboring country, and the country had some minerals that Doom wanted. So they defeat Doom, they save the country, but when they do, Doom destroys all the minerals that are in the country, and the country is still forced to surrender to Dr. Doom.
Right. For economic reasons.
Which is for economic reasons. So the country still wind up being slaves to Dr. Doom, which is what Heimdall was trying to tell them. And Heimdall tells Jane Foster this story and says, look, I can tell you what's going to happen, but are you sure you want to know this? And Jane Foster's like, yeah, I don't think so. And as she's getting ready to leave, he's like, okay, since you don't want to know that, by the way, I can tell you how long it's going to be before this cancer kills you too. And she's like, nah, I don't want to know that either. And he just leaves. And
part of that is because once he sees something, it locks it into place in time.
Right. And again, the last page, man, God, that last page. It's just beautiful. Dude, anyway, this book is beautiful, man. Good story. Just great art. Holy cow.
Yeah, it's a Thor story, but it's really good. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yeah, and I believe this is the last issue. Yeah, it is. This is the last issue of this, and then we're moving to Avengers #1 in a couple of weeks, and Champions #1, Avengers #1, Occupy Avengers #1. I forget what else.
Yeah. Yeah, we get a whole new. It's been a year, so it's time to shuffle all the comic books and put new stuff out.
It's time to
rearrange all the teams and change the names of all the books and the numbering and
put out a new #1 and see if you can get it over 100,000 in sales.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, New Avengers #17. So Roberto da Costa thwarts the Maker's efforts to kidnap the president. We also learn a little more about the Maker and his role in this cosmic conflict we keep hearing about, particularly what happened at the end of Secret Wars with Owen Reese. I like the bit that when he cut the Maker into slices at the end of Secret Wars, he distributed those slices throughout each multiverse. So there's a Maker in every multiverse. Did you catch that?
I did, yes.
Okay. Which almost makes him like a cosmic linchpin, as if, you almost have to have a Maker in each universe because you have a Reed Richards in every universe trying to do good things. So you have to have his exact opposite. The Dreamer and the Maker, essentially.
Okay.
I don't know. I thought that was interesting. So through various means, one of which is shape-shifting and using Warlock as an Iron Man armor, the New Avengers are able to thwart S.H.I.E.L.D. and John Garrett. They bring Dum-Dum Dugan back to his right mind. General Maverick shows up here at the end. I have no idea who he is.
I don't either.
Okay. I thought maybe you would know, but
nope.
Essentially, the New Avengers have been able to thwart S.H.I.E.L.D. and Whisper and put everything right back in its proper place. Now they're going to take on the other AIM and do it in less than 24 hours. Or at least that's what Roberto DaCosta says.
It wasn't bad. It's this book is
it moved really fast.
Yeah, this book is slightly above mediocre.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it's not great. It's not terrible. It's just kind of, it's all right.
Yeah, it's not bad. I like the characters. I like what they're doing. I like the idea of LMD Dum-Dum Dugan being hacked and taken over, and where he's just, his line is part of the team, and that whole thing. But it moved really fast. Like this book in particular, kind of all this stuff's happening. Okay, we said it all correct. Now we're moving on to our next story. Like it seems to be a lot of that. A lot of here's lots of conflict and bad things happening. Okay, let's put everything back in order. Okay, next story, lots of conflict. Okay, put it all back in order really fast. It's just, I don't know. It feels like it's kind of treading water. It's not really doing anything.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it absolutely makes sense. And that wraps up the Avenger section, which brings us to the main 616 universe, where we have a few books winding down this week because, hey, it's the end of an event. So at the end of an event, you have to end books so you can begin them again with new number ones. Right?
That's how this works.
That's what we just said. And that brings us to
how the business works.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. number 10, which is the last issue of this series. And I ask you if you've read it, you have issues with the app, because I'm kind of confused. Because the book jumps around in time, which left me confused. But Deathlock managed to save Simmons' life by making her a Deathlock, which she's not particularly happy about. And Coulson's still alive, even though Ward, who's a prisoner on a leash, shot him. And Quake and Coulson are still on the run, which I think was in the past, but is now in the future. And Coulson survived being shot. And at the end, everybody is living happily ever after. And Maria Hill is going to keep Coulson in jail just until the Civil War is over because she doesn't want him interfering in the Civil War. And there you go.
Okay. So you said this is the last issue?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure they're going to relaunch, right?
I'm sure they are. It's not a bad book. I just had trouble keeping up with it.
Okay. Well, I wish I could help you straighten that out, but Marvel Unlimited doesn't want me reading Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so. I even reached out to their support. For those of you who are saying get to support, I did. They're, not very helpful. So, Miss Marvel number 12 is also a Civil War wrap-up book. After the Civil War, Kamala decides to go to Pakistan to visit her family and get away for a little bit. She runs into Bruno at the airport. That's awkward. Meanwhile, in Pakistan, her extended family all live in this one giant building together. It's like an apartment building in a city, and like just all her relatives live in the building, which I guess, is that normal there for families to live all together like that?
I have no idea.
Okay. So she meets one of her, quote, relatives. I'm doing the air quotes here because they make a good, they make a point to point out that they aren't actually related to one another. This dude also happens to be her age. He's upset because the room she's staying in was his room, and they forced him to move so that she could have that room while she stays here. But that actually turned out to be decent friends later. So Kamala spends some time just being a Pakistani girl and not Miss Marvel, just kind of reconnecting to her roots. However, these water cartels have been blowing up water hydrants in order to extort money from the local people. So this keeps happening and it keeps happening. And finally, Kamala decides she's had enough. She suits up as Miss Marvel. She didn't bring her costume, so she had to improvise. So you get Arabian Miss Marvel. Is that offensive? It's probably offensive. I was probably being racist without realizing it. But anyway, it's it's Muslim themed Miss Marvel. So she goes out there to kick some bad guy butt.
I think you just made it worse.
I think I did too. I'll tell you later about a friend of mine's. He had a plan to let white people pay money to say the N-word. I'll tell you about it later.
Did they get to hit him or wear sheets while they did it or something?
No, the money goes to like job programs and black college funds and stuff.
Oh my God.
Anyway, she runs into a local superhero named the Red Dagger, who is certainly, most definitely not her relative from earlier. No, definitely not him. It is anybody but him. Anyway, he explains to her that this is a more complicated situation that she doesn't really understand, and she just needs to let the local heroes handle it. Somehow she's fine with that. I thought that was confusing because, I don't know. Water cartels are blowing up municipal hydrants and extorting water or extorting people for money. The other side of it is that those water cartels are getting water to people outside the water system who need it. So it's a thing. Anyway, after this, Kamala decides Jersey City needs her, and Miss Marvel returns home. It was a nice little one-off issue where she gets to do something different. It wasn't.
Yes.
Yeah, it was cool. You get to see her in her. The one thing I like about this book is you get introduced to more Muslim culture than what you normally would see if you live where I do, which is Alabama. So I'm learning. I feel like this book it's a good superhero book. It has good morals to it, and I'm learning something.
There you go. I enjoy it too.
Yeah.
For the same reasons. Yep. Deadpool number 21. This was y'all, please excuse me, coughing. Deadpool number 21 was an entertaining little book. It covered a lot of ground. We'll discuss how much ground it covered because it's 82 pages long, but that's beside the point. It begins because it's Christmas time, and Deadpool and an accomplice are robbing a jewelry store, and they get away, take the diamonds, give them to a homeless guy, actually 2 or 3 homeless guys, I think. And turns out it's his old buddy Hydra Bob. And this is just something that they do every year.
Hydra Bob. Yay.
Yeah, yay. It's just kind of something they do every year. So it's kind of a cool thing. Have you I was gonna ask, never mind.
What?
He's in the Deadpool movie.
Hydra Bob?
Yes, there's actually in the ultimate fight scene that they're he's like beating people up, and then there's Bob. And he just stops and talks to Bob for like 90 seconds. And then he knocks him unconscious. He doesn't kill him, knocks him unconscious, and goes back fighting everyone else.
Oh, man, I do need to see that movie.
So yes, you're like the one Marvel fan in the world over
Who hasn't seen the movie.
Who hasn't seen the movie. If there are Marvel fans out there under the age of 18 who have seen it, shame on you. Okay.
Shame on your parents.
Yes, shame on your parents. You've got the same parents who are letting you play Grand Theft Auto. Anyway, so then he begins to search for Madcap. Now, this has been an interesting storyline because I'm going to recap it very briefly. Madcap was in like issues 1 through 6. And at some point, I want to go back and really read the story of Madcap, because Madcap was like a villain. And this is kind of the origin of Madcap in this issue, because Deadpool actually goes to where Madcap got his powers. And it's like this road, and Madcap was, I think, on a motorcycle or in a car, and he gets hit by this truck with rock solid chemicals, and he basically loses his mind, and he becomes invulnerable and can't be killed, kind of like Deadpool.
I was going to say.
Yes.
It sounds familiar.
Yeah, but at some point he becomes like Mosaic, and he can get in other people's mind. Problem is, he wound up trapped in Deadpool's mind for about a year.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, there you go. That's the result. And goes utterly insane. Just we're not joking. Just goes around the bend, and just his sole purpose is to kill Deadpool. Just absolute. That's all he wants to do is kill Deadpool. Problem is, Deadpool's hard to kill. So, he's killed people around Deadpool. He's threatened to kill Deadpool's family. He's done all these things. Somewhere around issue 6 or 7, Deadpool thinks he killed Madcap. The problem is, you can't kill Madcap. So basically his spirit kind of floated around for a while. Then it took over dude. And if you look at the cover of this issue, you see a body sticking out of a dude's stomach. That's where Madcap is regrowing inside another person.
Oh.
Dude, you would enjoy this. Okay?
Because of how gruesome it is?
You enjoy this sort of thing, man.
I don't necessarily enjoy the gruesomeness. I enjoy the horror behind, like with Carnage.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy the body count in Carnage and the actual carnage. I enjoy what's happening in the story.
So, that's the kind of story this is. So he goes and sees his, I don't even know, dude, girlfriend, ex-wife, who's the SHIELD agent on a helicarrier. They have some conversations about, whether or not she knows where he is. There's some funny stuff there. He ejects out of an F-15 to get to the ground. By that time, he gets a text from Madcap, where Madcap has taken over the maintenance staff of a zoo. And Deadpool starts fighting him, but he doesn't want to kill him. And somehow they start drugging him. Or they drug him and lead him to the lion's cage, where he begins to die. And then Madcap sticks his head out of this dude's shirt, like you see on the cover.
Yeah.
And insists Deadpool's dying. And the dude has popcorn for Madcap to eat while Deadpool dies. And that's how this part of the story ends. And it's a good story. I mean, they've been building up to it for about the last 15 issues. So it's good.
I think I heard you once you started talking about it, I was going, this all sounds real familiar.
Yeah.
So
now that ends at page 22. The next 60 pages are 60 pages of Shakespearean Deadpool.
Oh, this thing's 82 pages long.
Yes.
Holy crap. How much was this on the stands?
I have no idea. But I read 3 pages of Shakespearean Deadpool and couldn't take any more. So good luck to anyone. If you like Shakespeare and you like Deadpool, God bless you.
Yeah, I can see the appeal here, and it's funny, but nah.
Yeah, there you go.
Probably not something I'd actually read. This is something I would appreciate while not actually reading it.
Yeah. Well said.
But it looks like it's basically King Lear in 4 acts.
Yes, it is.
Okay. I'm just flipping through it, but it looks like King Lear. Anyway,
I imagine it was $7, $8, $9, $10 on the stand.
had to have been.
Yeah.
No way you sell an 82-page book for $4.99 these days.
Do you know? I was talking to Jason the other day at the Comic Cellar in Memphis.
Yeah.
Maybe he wants me to share this. Maybe he doesn't. You ponder this. So I'm going on vacation this weekend.
Yeah. You were talking to your other comic book friend who is not at all related to Jason at the Comic Book Cellar in Memphis.
Yes. And I told him, I said, I want you to grab me a number 0, a free comic book day book.
Yeah.
Throw it in my pull list, okay? And when I get back in town in a couple of weeks, I'll pay for it. What do you think his cost on that thing was?
On the free comic book day thing?
Yeah, what do you think they charge him for it? The cost on a 30-page 4-color comic book that Marvel's charging him for.
Wait a minute. They're charging him for the free comics?
Oh, dude, they always charge for free comics.
That's insane. It's a free comic book.
Dude, you didn't know the distributors have to pay for free comics on free comic book day?
Dude, that's insane.
Well, I mean, Marvel, DC, these guys are charging close to cost. But yes, they charge.
Wow.
But what do you think his cost is? Understand, the publishers are probably giving them away close to cost.
$2.
25 cents.
Really?
Really.
25 cents a book.
Yep.
So what's the cost on that? 7 cents?
I would imagine Marvel is selling it close to cost, which means it probably costs between 25 and 50 cents.
Okay.
I would imagine
$5 on it. $5 on the $4 to $5 a pop.
Right. They're eating literally all the costs. Diamond's shipping it for free. Literally, it's being done at true net cost, which is probably 25 cents.
Wow. I mean, it just shows what the markup is.
Yeah. Now, between the store, between the printing press and the store, there's a lot of markups. You got shipping from the press to Diamond, from Diamond to the store. You got Marvel marking it up. You got Diamond marking it up. You got Jason marking it up.
Yeah, you got the retailer marking it up.
Right. So, I mean, there's a lot of people taking cuts along the way, but dude, 25 cents.
Wow.
Yeah.
The things you learn.
Yes.
So we got 2 new Doctor Strange books this week. Now, this was 6 months ago. What happened 6 months ago? The Doctor Strange movie came out.
Yes.
Which will be on Netflix on May 30th, by the way. So what they're trying to do, and I applaud Marvel for doing this, is expand the Doctor Strange lineup. So you've got, I think you've got Doctor Strange, just the Doctor Strange title, Doctor Strange and the Sorcerer Supremes, and Doctor Strange Mystic Apprentice, and I feel like there's another Doctor Strange book on the way.
I think so.
Yeah, I think there's at least one more. So they're doing what they're doing with their other franchises, like with Spider-Man, like with Deadpool. They're expanding to see how many books they can put in this family. um, so Doctor Strange and the Sorcerer Supremes starts in 500 AD. Merlin has locked away a bunch of monsters, intending them to be forgotten because they are they can't die. We don't really know what exactly they are. They're just some sort of abomination that he feels needs to be locked away. Back in the present day, Merlin finds Doctor Strange and tells him that he needs his help. Merlin is using time travel to assemble a team of Sorcerer Supremes from across time in order to fight these forgotten monsters who have escaped. Now, there's this whole thing with like Merlin and his sister, or not his sister, but his apprentice, and like what King Arthur does about this, how those things became to be forgotten. What Merlin's actual aim is, how bad Merlin might be screwing up the timeline by doing all this. There's a lot of unanswered questions, and I think within, I don't know, I'm looking forward to the series. It's got some potential.
I was asking you before we went on the air, do you know if either one of these are ongoing series or limited series?
The Sorcerer Supreme, or excuse me, the Sorcerer Supremes may be ongoing. The Mystic Apprentice, I hope, is a limited series.
I really was kind of lost in the Sorcerer Supreme. Don't get me wrong, I understood what happened. Merlin was fighting the demon. He's with King Arthur. He went and got other Sorcerer Supreme. I understood it. I didn't understand the why. And I know it's a plot device to bring me back for more, so I can understand it. It's because he locked them in the room. I understood it all. I didn't understand the why and what exactly happened.
Right. That's what I was explaining, was that we don't know the why. And I assume we'll find that out as we go through the series.
Right.
Why did Merlin lock these things away to begin with? Why did he leave them there? And why have they now escaped?
Right.
And why does he need a team of Sorcerer Supremes to put them back?
Right. Yeah.
Then we had Doctor Strange Mystic Apprentice #1. You told me you didn't read this, right?
No, this was one I did not get to.
Okay. You've seen the Doctor Strange movie?
Yes.
Okay, then you've read this book.
Oh, okay.
It's Doctor Strange as a pupil of the Ancient One. He's having trouble conjuring his astral form, which is something we actually see in the movie, but this is like the long form of that. No matter what he does, he can't figure it out. Eventually, he figures it out. This is a Doctor Strange in training book. And it's when I say the movie, it's, if you look at the art in it, it's modeled after the movie. This, if you told me that this book took place during Stephen Strange's time at training with the Ancient One in that movie, I'd go, oh, okay, yeah, I understand. You can't show everything in a movie. You don't have time, so it's compressed. But he actually spent a great deal of time there, and this is a story that happened while he was there. That's what this book is.
Okay.
It wasn't terrible, but if you've seen the movie, there's no need to read this.
Well, there you go. Okay. Silver Surfer #7. After the last few issues, we have Dawn and Norrin back in space again and never wanting to return to Earth, which is fine. So Norrin, the Silver Surfer, takes her to safe places, which, they play with puppies, they play with bouncy balls, they play with babies. And Dawn eventually realizes that he's keeping her safe and not taking her to places that are dangerous. And finally, she gets a little irritated, and she wants to do what they were doing before, which is having adventures. So they go to the Cosmic Casino, where the owner of the Cosmic Casino, who is eventually revealed as the game master, begins to get them drunk.
Of course, it's the game master.
Of course, it's the game master, who eventually begins to get them drunk and have them gambling things that they shouldn't lose. Like Norin loses his surfboard. One of them loses the ability to say the letter B. I forget what all they lose, but they yes.
Okay.
They're saying add instead of bad. Did you read this?
No, I didn't get a chance.
Yeah. So finally, the game master reveals himself, grandmaster reveals himself, excuse me, and they figure out that it's one game, and they can't. Norin Rad gets to choose it, and he chooses a little game that Ben Grimm taught him, called poker. And they play for everything. The stakes are Norin gets everything back, or the grandmaster.
I don't know.
Loses the ability to ever gamble again.
Jeff Goldblum in the new Thor movie.
Yeah, there you go. Loses the ability to ever gamble again. And basically, I'm pretty sure Norin ran a bluff on him. I didn't see the cards very closely, but I believe he bluffed him.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know what his hold cards were, but I think he bluffed him into folding, because he folded. So there you go. It wasn't a bad issue.
Yeah, it sounds like what you would expect with Silver Surfer.
Yeah. And it got him back in the flow of being back in the universe again, which is what you wanted, and it was cool.
Yeah. We also had Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. I don't even remember what number it is. Real quick, Kid Creek confesses his love for Lunella, but she's not really into it. However, she will accept his help with their science fair Lego project thing. The adult Kree show up, tell Kid Kree he's been a bad boy, and Amadeus Cho declares Lunella to be the smartest person in the Marvel Universe.
What is that she puts together?
I have no idea. Nobody does except her, because she's the smartest person in the Marvel Universe.
I mean, because while he's explaining to her how complicated it is, she puts it together in about 10 seconds.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the thing that makes nobody knows what it is, and that's what makes her the smartest person in the Marvel Universe, is she was able to put it together.
Right. That brings us to Nighthawk number 6, and I was really disappointed in this because, what happened is, and I read an article on this back when it came out. This book got canceled. About issue 4, this book got canceled.
Yeah.
And this reads like what happened, which is the writer was told it was canceled, and he had to wrap up this storyline in an issue, which is how it reads.
Yeah, I wondered if this was how it was going to go.
Yeah. So he had.
And this is just—it's a reality of comic books. Sometimes something gets canceled, and you take your 12-issue story arc and wrap it up in an issue or 2. If you're lucky.
Yeah, and it really reads like he had to take another, the last 6 issues and wrap it up into one issue. It's not bad. Nighthawk, finds out who did it. They had a fight. The ending's pretty cool. The last couple of pages are cool. It's not a bad issue. This series was really touching on relevant issues in Chicago with crime, with corruption, and I hated to see it end, but it just wasn't selling. Just was not selling.
Yeah, I really hope to see this again, taking on these issues.
Right. And at the time, this was before the debacle of a few weeks ago at the Marvel distributors meeting.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, there were articles written saying Marvel should just keep it on the shelf because it needed minority characters, it needed minority writers, it needed to address these issues. And that was before the debacle of a few weeks ago because it just wasn't selling, man. It was just bad. And the sales numbers were bad, not the book. The book's good. The sales numbers were just bad.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy number 13. So in the last issue, Gamora found out that Thanos is alive and on Earth, and now she's going to go kill him, no matter what. Doesn't matter who she has to go through. She will go through them in order to kill Thanos.
Dude, is she mad? Holy cow.
Yeah, she'll go through even Captain Marvel. She and Captain Marvel fight it out for several pages, with Captain Marvel kind of getting her butt kicked. So you've got Gamora on the warpath. The Guardians are divided as to what to do next. Meanwhile, Annihilus and the Brood Queen are scheming.
Yes. So, yeah, good book, man. Good book.
It is good. I really enjoyed it. I gave it a brief synopsis because a big chunk of the book is just her and Miss Marvel fighting, but
yeah. Plus,
it's a good book.
We're at the hour and a half mark, and we're trying to keep this under 2 hours, and we've still got a couple of very good books to talk about.
Right. So tell us about Totally Awesome Hulk number 11.
You know, it starts out with Amadeus Cho fighting the Black Panther. He realizes his sister's in trouble fighting a beast that is fed on emotion, which is very important. So he goes to Las Vegas to save his sister with the Black Panther racing behind him. He fights the beast using his strength and emotion because he thinks strength can overcome anything. He thinks he's knocked out the beast. The beast recovers and knocks him out. Then Black Panther defeats the beast. And then Amadeus Cho wakes up, realizes that Black Panther had to defeat the beast for him, looks around at all the destruction he's caused, realizes the beast defeated him, and looks at the Black Panther and his sister and asks for help because he realizes he is the Hulk and he is out of control. It was actually a very good story. I'm soft selling it because, again, we're pressed for time. This was a good story.
It sounds good. I haven't read it yet, but yeah, Amadeus Cho's been on that track for a minute.
Yeah, and at this point, he finally ran out of rail and jumped off and ran through the woods.
Naked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
Cool. So you got the Punisher annual number 1. This is a Halloween story with an awesome cover. And you know me, man, I always like these Halloween stories. So you got 3 characters, main characters in this one-off story. You've got Frank Castle, the Punisher. You've got this street-level criminal, just, no-name street thug. And you got the son of a dead cop. So this group of no-name street criminals killed this cop. And that cop's son is out for revenge. So in looking for these criminals, he crosses paths with Frank Castle. He follows Frank Castle to a Halloween party full of rich people, which the criminals intend to stick up. Instead of the criminals getting to do that, Frank Castle just shoots them all, except one who tells him where he can find the criminal he's looking for, which is the same guy that the son's looking for. He follows Frank Castle to the location, which is a weird Halloween party going on in the suburbs.
It's not the one that Gwenpool and the all her friends were at?
No.
Not Gwenpool. Help me out. Spider-Gwen.
No, that was in a different universe.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it does. They couldn't be.
Sure, it's not the same one. They got a Frank Castle over there, too.
Well, they didn't go to a party. They went to an amusement park.
Okay, fine.
Anyway.
Work with me, man. I'm trying to interject humor here.
You're trying to make a point that you didn't like Spider-Gwen number 13, and I thought it was the greatest thing I'd ever read.
Yeah.
So the Punisher and this other guy are after the same criminal. Both have drawn down on him in the backyard after Frank Castle takes care of all of his goonies. And this cop's son has the criminal at gunpoint. He's holding him at gunpoint. He's about to shoot him in the head when Frank talks this kid out of shooting the man who killed his father, with the reasoning because his father believed in justice. That's why his father was a police officer, and this kid believes in justice because he's a good kid. So the kid drops his gun, and immediately Frank Castle pops this dude in the face. He shoots the criminal in the head, just right there. And he explains to him that, yes, you and your father are good people, but I'm not. I'm just here to punish.
Yeah, that's
there you
right.
go. Yeah. His philosophy is punish.
Hey, before we move on to a couple more books and I forget it, dude, that Defenders trailer was good.
Oh, heck yeah, man. Defenders, that trailer was really good. It was cool to see them all working together and fighting together.
Castle made me think of it. The Punisher on Netflix made me think of it. That was good, man.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping he actually shows up in the Defenders, at least for a minute. One of those things where, like, the Defenders are fighting somebody and they've got the upper hand on them, and the Punisher shows up and pops a couple guys and lets the Defenders get the upper hand back, something like that.
Right. Yeah, it was good. Anyway, Venom Space Knight number 12. Venom, Flash Thompson, is still on Earth. He's helping out his old friend Mania, who has a hell mark on her, which means not only is she with a symbiote, but she also has demons. And he fights her. He sets her free. All of his friends show up. They all live happily ever after. And Flash stays on Earth. Everybody else goes back to space. And that's the end of this series, which will relaunch in about 3 weeks with another number 1 because, we hope to sell 100,000 issues of it.
Yep.
Is there a pattern developing here? Yeah. Okay. Which brings us to Division number 12.
Last issue. Wrapping up.
Last issue. Dude. This series, man. This series is just...
It's the best thing Marvel's published in 20 years. It's certainly the most unique thing they've published in 20 years.
It is the most unique thing I have ever read by Marvel. Ever.
Yeah, same here. And if they did more stuff like this, their sales may not be in the crapper.
This book did not sell well.
Yeah, well, the people who didn't buy this book are dumb.
Dude. Anyway,
what probably happened is people went, the Vision, I don't really care for the Vision all that much, and did not realizing what kind of story they were getting.
I wonder what the trade paperback numbers are on this thing.
I don't know.
Anyway, as we know, last issue. Go ahead. You were going to say something.
Oh, I was going to say, I know both of them are available on Amazon for about $11.
There you go. Have you bought them yet?
No, but they're on my list.
There you go. Of course, last issue, Viv killed the Vision's brother, who is Victor.
No, Virginia killed him.
Virginia, excuse me. Finn's the daughter. I'm still trying to get them right.
It's fine. They're all V names.
Yes. And she killed, who was it?
Victor Mancha, who is
Victor
the brother,
Mancha.
Who's the brother of the Vision.
Yes. And they were all created by Ultron. Yeah. Anyway. So we begin with a police precinct where she is calling to confess everything that she's done throughout the series, from the killing of the Grim Reaper to the burying of the body to the killing of the young man that saw her do it to the killing of his father. Just all of it. She's confessing all of it. She confesses to having programmed the Vision, and then when he attacked the Avengers, that it was because she altered his programming. Then there's a chemical there, and I forget what it is, that she ingests and basically commits suicide with.
It's the water from the water vase of Zen La. which I wanted to talk about because in a couple issues ago in Silver Surfer, we saw all of Zenlaw culture be erased, which means shouldn't this have gone away as well?
I would guess.
Yeah, you would think so. Unless all of this takes place in a compressed time. So this could all take place before that happened. But
Used to you would see a note that says this takes place before Silver Surfer number such and such and such and such.
Right.
And these days you don't. So I don't know.
And at some point it just becomes a bunch of nerds asking Joe Quesada questions like, hey, how come when she drank that from that water vase, how come that water vase was there? Because back in Silver Surfer number 4, you did,
I know.
It just becomes that dumb thing.
Yeah. So anyway, so she drinks it and
it's going to kill her.
Yeah. So the Vision's outside waiting to talk to her. He comes in and she begins explaining to him everything she did. And you and I talked about this the other night. Mm-hmm. She explains to him that not only did she do it, but she covered up for his crimes. Because apparently he had a part in this, and he was on the way to kill Victor himself, and she just stopped him from doing it.
What would happen? Her account to the police is false. The Vision did all of these things under his own free will, but she is taking the rap for him and then killing herself to hide the evidence. Because what would happen is the Vision kills Victor Mancha. The Avengers can't allow that to happen. So the Vision and the Avengers start fighting, which would have resulted in the end of the world. Because she ate a flower off that plant, which showed her the future back in issue 3 or 4. And that's what she saw.
Which is the same thing that Victor was afraid of, which was the Vision killing, or the Vision causing the end of the world.
Yes. So by doing this, she has saved the world from the Vision, who has saved the world 37 times.
Yes. Then we find out that the Scarlet Witch is the one who's been narrating this the whole time, and she's talking.
We should have known, right? It's letters with it's white letters with a red background. We should have known.
I guess she's narrating it to the Vision's daughter and explaining, trying not to get her to be mad at the Vision. And Wanda has resurrected the dog, the android dog, which I'm not sure is good. And, yeah. And then, then Viv is going to school, and Vision tells her to have a good day, and she's like, or try to be normal. And 2 months ago, my uncle killed my brother. In response, my mother killed my uncle and then killed herself. And now I'm a teenager, sensoid, being raised by my father. How am I supposed to be normal?
By who's an Avenger? I'm not normal. But yeah, this is the Vision family trying to get back to quote normal after having lost two of their family members.
Where the Vision goes back inside and begins trying to rebuild his wife.
Yes.
Yes.
While
singing "Row, Row Your Boat."
Yeah, while eerily singing "Row, Row, Row Your Boat."
Yeah, with the dog sitting beside him barking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. There's nothing creepy about this. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and we've kept making this comparison, but it's like an episode of The Twilight Zone.
Dude.
It's just a little unnerving.
It's just bizarre, man.
But it's really one of the best things I've read in a long time. And if you read the letter pages, the writer, Tom King, said this made his career. Like, this really launched him to the next level, which I'm really happy for, because I would like to see him do more stuff like this. I would like to see Marvel.
Letter page.
Yeah, there's a letters page.
At the end?
Yeah. No, at the beginning. I really want to see Marvel do more unique things like this.
Yeah, no doubt.
If it didn't sell well, so I'm sure they're not going to. But dang, dude, I don't care. If you can find, hopefully it's done well in trades, but this was not this was one of those books that at issue number 1, had I been standing in the comic book store looking at it on the rack, I'd have thought, maybe, but probably not for $3.99 or $4.99.
Right.
And I would have just passed it by, which is maybe why it didn't sell as well. But dang, if this wasn't one of the best things I've ever read.
Dude, this was great. This was just great. And this is the beauty of Marvel Unlimited, is you get to read things like this.
Well, now I can go back and read the whole thing.
Yeah.
Which I intend to do.
And I'm looking forward to.
I intend to tell other people about it. Hey, I like comic books, but I'm not really into the superhero thing. I mean, I am, but I don't want to necessarily read the Avengers. Okay, read this.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was easily the best thing that they've done in ages.
No doubt, man.
Moving on to our Star Wars books, we have Star Wars number 24. The Star Destroyer that they have stolen previously has been infiltrated by an elite group of stormtroopers. Excuse me. The leader of which knows how to use the lightsaber. Luke, Santa, and their team go to investigate and are attacked by these troopers. All of this is happening as the Destroyer is coming up on the battle for Tureen 7. They're trying to fight off an attack from within. They're trying to fix their battle cannons and engage in this fight. And they're trying not to get shot out of the sky. So it's the perfect time for Darth Vader to show up. Which is what happened at the end of this book. Then we have Poe Dameron number 7. Poe meets up with an old friend from his time in the Republic Navy. She's a journalist now. He is flying for the Resistance. Turns out that she has some info about the First Order that the Resistance might find useful. Except she's being pursued by the First Order. And after a long fight across half a planet, Poe Dameron decides to take her to the Resistance base, where she meets with General Organa and reveals that she doesn't have any info at all, actually. She just wanted to join the Resistance and didn't know how to go about it.
There you go.
Yeah. And there's this whole thing of like, how dare you lure us in like this? And she was like, listen, I see what's happening. I'm picking a side. I'm picking yours. Anyway, it was pretty good.
That sounds good.
Yeah. What was your favorite book this week, Pat?
Oh, dude, no doubt, man. It's Division.
Yeah, Vision number 12.
There's several there. I mean, you got Civil War, you got that Captain America book, you got the Ultimates. It's a great week. This is one of those weeks where you gladly pay $9.99 a month, but Division.
Yeah, the Vision is, yeah, absolutely. Then we had a Power Pack dump this week.
Oh, good gosh.
What is the Power Pack seems to be showing up everywhere all of a sudden. Have you noticed this?
From the first time I saw the Power Pack on the newsstand, I thought, why? And my opinion has never changed. Why?
I mean, at this point, I'm expecting them to show up in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 tomorrow night.
I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't either. But if you want to read old Power Pack stuff, it's there. Congratulations. Your dream has come true. I actually saw a post on the Marvel Unlimited Reddit where someone said, oh my gosh, Power Pack, my favorite comic book of all, is now on Marvel Unlimited. And I went, oh my God, we're truly living in the darkest timeline.
Dude. Seriously.
Anyway, what's our classic read this week?
Our classic read is in the Discover tab. It's Annihilation. And Annihilation came out in 2005 and 2006. And it was where Marvel rebuilt their universe, because for years the universe was kind of in disarray.
The cosmic universe.
The cosmic universe. The universe was kind of in disarray, and they just took it and just I forget who they gave it to, but they just gave it to a couple
Bendis.
of writers, and it wasn't Bendis, was it?
I think it was.
Anyway, they just said, "Here, fix it." They got science fiction artists to draw these covers. They did a Drax miniseries, rebooted Drax. They did a Nova miniseries, rebooted Nova. A Ronan series where they rebooted Ronan. If all these names sound familiar, it's because this is where you got the Guardians of the Galaxy that you see in the theaters tonight. The Guardians of the Galaxy that you see in the theaters right now, this is where the Guardians went from being the 31st century Guardians of the Galaxy to the Guardians that you see in the theaters right now. By the time you finish Annihilation, issue 6, you have the Guardians of the Galaxy that are in the series, that are in the theaters right now. And it continues. You've got those 4 or 5 miniseries that precede it. And then you've got the 6-issue Annihilation miniseries, and you got a couple of Galactus books that wrap it up. It's a great series. And by the time it's over, they have destroyed tens of thousands of planets. They've wiped out the entire Nova Corps. They've killed trillions of people. It is warfare on a galactic stage with the Guardians of the Galaxy and a few other heroes being the only thing that stand between Annihilus and the Annihilation Wave and the destruction of the entire universe. It's a great story.
Yeah. There was a number of writers doing this Annihilation thing, but Brian Michael Bendis is the one who put together the current Guardians of the Galaxy team. The ones that you see in the movie, the ones that you see now, Peter Quill is Star-Lord, Groot, Gamora, Drax, Rocket. He's the one who put that team together. And even, I think he created Rocket, didn't he?
No, man, Rocket's been around since the late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah. Now, I don't know how Yondu translates because he was part of the old Guardians, who are actually the Guardians in the future, but
yes.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool, man. It's been a long time. In fact, I think it was out of your collection that I read the Annihilation stuff. It's been a long time, so I think I'll have to revisit that.
Yeah, it's a great series.
If you want to know, the movie Marvel Guardians of the Galaxy 2 comes out tomorrow. If you want to know more about what led up to and what you might see in the future with Guardians of the Galaxy and kind of more about their origin, this is the series to read. And the subsequent series after.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Well, if you want to get in touch with us and tell us what you thought about the books this week, you can email us at 6monthsbehind@gmail.com. You can also visit our website,
www.6monthsbehind.com.
And Pat, do you have any wisdom for our true believers before we go this week?
Of course, I talk to myself. Sometimes I need an expert opinion.
Man, I know what that's like. I talk to myself all the time.
I do too.
See you guys next week.
Peace.